Welcome to USATF's Journey to Gold Zone podcast. I'm Jay Holder, and I'm here with world champion Cordell Tinch. Cordell, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I got to ask, we haven't talked to you since Tokyo. You won the world championship in the 110-meter hurdles. How does life change now that you're a world champion?
It changed for mostly of, all of the stuff that I went through as far as leaving the sport prior to coming back. It just kind of validated everything that I made the right choice. But it obviously, as well, it drives you more because now going into this season, you've got a target on your back. You've got, a standard to uphold because you just asserted yourself as the best in the world. So you have to continue to roll with that.
Take me back to Tokyo. You come across the line, you look up at the board, you see that you won. What's the first thing that went through your head?
I can't wait to call my mom. I was really excited. I think that, things just kind of lined up and all the work that we put in throughout the entire year really, really showed at Tokyo. There was a lot of questions through the first round of, well, I don't know if he's able to do it anymore. He might be hurt. And I was like, the goal is to qualify for the semifinal. Semifinal's the tough one, and then the final. So it was taking it round by round, but crossing the line, being ready to call my mother was definitely the first thing I felt. And then it was just kind of relief because there was definitely a lot of pressure, when America's had Grant running for however long and America's used to winning the hurdles and everybody else seemed to be running very well. I just kind of embraced that pressure and put it on myself and said, if Grant's not in this final and I'm in this final, somebody from America's coming home with this gold.
But you had been running well all year. I mean, I know every year has its ups and downs. Did you ever doubt yourself, even when you think that some people might have thought, I don't know if this is his to win?
No, I don't think I doubted myself. I think it was actually after Milrose last year. We had probably my best start out of the blocks all year. That's probably the best first 7 steps I had for the entirety of last season. And it was kind of from that moment that I knew if I continue to stay healthy, stay consistent, that the world championship is mine to lose.
You mentioned leaving the sport, and I remember you telling that story at the press conference in Tokyo, and it's such a great story because, you literally went from couch to world champion.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how you got back into the sport? Tell that story for those who might not know it, because it's pretty incredible.
Whew. All right. So, leaving high school, I went to Minnesota to play football and run track, learned that football wasn't for me.
What was your position?
Wide receiver.
Okay.
But I learned football wasn't for me very quick. There was just certain things that were tough for me, and doing 3 football practices basically and then a track workout all in one day to go to sleep and wake up and do it again was a lot.
You were trying to do football and track
Yes.
at the same time.
And
Jeez.
they were having me doing stuff through the summer for track and obviously for football. And it was just bad. I was going to bed at 7 p.m. I was up at 4 a.m. and it was just a lot. And so I got to the point where I just was kind of over it and just wanted to only focus on track. And the coach that had recruited me to Minnesota, he ended up taking a job at the University of Kansas, or at Kansas University. Yeah, it's Kansas University. Goodness.
Yeah, okay.
It's so long ago.
Yeah.
So at semester of my freshman year, I transferred down there. Got right into competing there. Indoor went okay. Outdoor, I ended up being the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. And then, going into the next season, there was, some issues that came up that I didn't know about. And so I ended up being ineligible. And we, fixed all of that, or so we thought, as, you talk to your academic advisor and you go through all that to find out that, again, I was still ineligible coming into the next season after I did everything that was shown to me. So then I just kind of took a step back and was like, well, I've done everything I was supposed to. Like, what's going on here? And then COVID happened, so everything got shut down. I went home, and, I got real comfortable at home. And then when it was time to go back to school, I said, yeah, I'm just going to go get a job. I'm good. And so from that point, for 3.5 years, I was just working.
What were you doing?
So I was, originally when I got home, I worked with my dad at a paper mill in Green Bay. That was not very much fun, but, it paid well. And that was, how I was providing for myself.
Was it physical at all? I mean, were you?
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Being in a paper mill in Green Bay, it's not really physical, but it's a 12-hour shift
Yeah.
of you sitting there and making sure the machine doesn't do anything wrong.
Uh-huh.
So like, as long as the machine runs smoothly, you don't do anything for 12 hours, which is tough to do
Long
of just
time.
like sitting there for 12 hours.
Yeah, just staring at the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a very hot environment.
Yeah, and smell it. Paper mills stink.
Yes, exactly. So that was what I did at first, and then I was like, yeah, I can't sit in here anymore. So then I worked for Spectrum for a while, and then ended up working with US Cellular for a while, and then it would have been November of 2022, getting ready to go into the new year, and my roommate from KU, Trayvon, he called me and he said, hey, I think I'm going to go to Pitt at semester. You might as well come. Mind you, a year prior to that, he called me and said he was going to North Carolina A&T and said, you might as well come. And I said, yeah, I'll be there. And then it never amounted to anything.
And he didn't go.
So it never amounted to anything. So I assumed this was another one of those where, I'm in. Then, he went quiet for a couple weeks, but then I get a call from, my coach now, Kyle Rutledge. He called me and said, hey, we really want Trayvon, but Trayvon has made it very clear the only way he is going to sign a scholarship here is if you're here. And I was like, oh, okay, so the coach is calling me now, so I think he's a bit serious. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. And I sat with my mom and talked about it, and I was like, I don't know why a lot of people are pushing, because it wasn't just Trey. There was a group of like 6 of us that all ended up going to Pitt State that year. But they were all saying, Cordell, you're the last piece. We need you here. We want you here. And I was like, I don't understand why everybody's pushing for me.
And at this point, you haven't jumped over a hurdle in 3 years.
I hadn't jumped over a hurdle since 2019. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know why they're all pushing for it. And then it just got to the point where my dad looked at me and he said, look, what's the worst that happens? If a coach is offering you a scholarship to come to school, you're not paying for it. Worst case, you go there for a semester, you say you don't like it, you come back home. And, to go to Pitt, and it was the first meet at Washburn, hearing a gun go off, and after, I think it was only like 2.5 weeks of training, and practice looked horrible, I'll be completely honest.
This is the first time you really got in the blocks or got over hurdles in your first practice?
Yeah.
You weren't like out in the driveway?
No.
No.
The closest athletic thing I was doing over that break was just going to play basketball at the Y. That was it. And so, Kyle will still say it. He thought, based on the practices, Jesse was our jumps coach, and he was like, Jesse asked, what do you think Cordell's going to run, at Washburn this weekend? And Kyle said, I'll be happy as long as we see something faster than 8-1.
Yeah.
And so, think of that now.
Low
so to think of it now, it's like, but when if the files of those practices got released, you would understand where he was coming from. And I kept saying, I said, I think, things will come back when I hear the gun go off. Just being in a track and field meet environment. I think things will come back. And so as soon as the gun went off and, we had that race, I set the school record, which was set the week.
In that race?
Yeah. The school record was set the week before. And so this is my first meet there, and I set the school record. I think I ran 7:76 and then 7:72 in the final. And I was just like, as who I am, I was irritated with how the race was. I was like, things don't feel right. And in my head, I'm like, but also you're 3 weeks in after 3 years. You can't be that hard of a critique on yourself. And the entire team was like, he's mad, but you just ran the fastest time we've ever seen at this school. What? And so that was really a turning point was, okay, I'm able to compete, within the D2 level. But then as we got to the outdoor, I think that times that I was running, even though some of them were windy, it was showing me it wasn't just, D2 or D1 or NCAA that I was able to compete with. I was able to match up with, professional runners. Yeah. And it kind of all came together after our Arkansas meet. My now agent, Paul Doyle, as soon as, I ran 12:96, he called me and said, I just don't think you're going back to school. And I was like, what does that mean? Because 6 months ago, I was at US Cellular, and 6 months later, I had a professional deal, which was just insane, an insane turn of events. And so all of, the things that I learned from working at all those odd jobs and understanding, myself more as a person, I think that I wouldn't trade any of it, because I don't think I'd be where I am today as, the 110-meter world champion if I don't go through all of that.
When you go back to Green Bay, like, do you go to the office and be like, hey, I'm back, by the way, I have a gold medal now from the World Championships?
No, I kind of avoid going over there. Just, I went in there with my sister and, the coworkers that I was working with then. One of them came up, she gave me a hug and said, I really thought that you were joking when you said you were going to school, and now I see you everywhere, all over Facebook. I'm so proud of what you're doing. So, it's still great to go home to Green Bay and see all the love and support that I still get.
Tell me a little bit about Pittsburg State. Most notably, it's not in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And there's not an H at the end of it.
Yes. It's, I think just for me, being from Green Bay is a big, small city. There's a lot of people in Green Bay, but I think that I know most people in Green Bay, if I'm being honest. Just like with how big my family is, how big my friend circle is, it doesn't feel like a big city, but it's also, I think it's only like 300,000 or 400,000 people. But
I don't even know if it's that. I was just there a couple months ago. I don't even know if it's that big.
It's bigger now. It used to be, like a couple years ago, it was like 100,000, but then with them expanding a whole bunch of stuff, it's much bigger now. I feel like every time I come back, there's a whole bunch of new stuff that I was like, that was not here 4 months ago. But they're continuing to expand, and it's getting bigger and bigger, but it's so compact that it seems bigger. But I just love the feel of a small town, and that's what Pittsburgh gave me. There's no, let's go to this club, let's go. Like, there's no distractions. There's nothing to really be distracted by. So I'm forced, and I like it that way, I'm forced to, lock in on track and field, lock in on my craft, continue to wake up, go to practice. Like, that's it. There's no, hey, there's nothing to do in Pittsburgh.
It's Pittsburgh, Kansas, by the way. Pittsburgh is in Kansas.
Yes, no H, and it's in Kansas.
What did you study?
Exercise science.
Okay, it's fitting. So you're from Green Bay. I don't want to assume you're a Packer fan, but
Absolutely.
like the whole city is.
If you are from Green Bay, you're a Packer fan. That's just how it works.
Okay, so we're going to divert. We're going to talk football for a second. What do the Packers have to? We've got the talent. Signed Micah Parsons this year. Jordan Love's playing great ball. Like, what does this team have to do to make it a little bit further in the playoffs? Maybe even make it to the Super Bowl. Is it a coaching thing?
I love Matt LaFleur, if I'm being honest.
Okay, all right.
Prior to this year, I've always loved him as a coach. This year, I love him in the first half. If we could coach the first half, I understand people are like, well, he doesn't need to call plays anymore. I'm like, I have no problem with him calling plays if he calls the same plays he's calling in the first half.
Yes,
don't
get conservative.
We're getting conservative, only up 14. At least if we were up 28, I'd be like, okay, I kind of understand it.
Yeah.
But only up 14, it's like, there's no need to be conservative. Like, continue to do what worked in the first half. So I think if we do that, and then this year especially, I think the biggest thing is we have to stay healthy. That's the tough thing.
Yeah.
We had 2 ACLs, some collarbones. Like, we had a lot of bad injuries where it's not even like, he's just got this strain. It's no, they went down and got carted off.
Yeah.
So, like, if we can be healthy going into next year, I think that, there's a lot of hope in that locker room. I think the way Micah spoke after the playoff loss, it just sounded like as soon as he's healthy, he's hungry. Yeah. So I think that's gonna spread throughout the locker room. So I'm excited for what the team can do next year.
Yeah, Wallace and I were watching the Bears game together, and they were up. I forget, it was like 28-17 at one point. And I looked at Wallace and I go, we're gonna lose this game. And he goes, I'll bet you anything the Packers win by more than 14 points. I'm like, no. I know how the second half goes. Yeah. So I got a Snoop hoodie out of it. Okay. Well, we'll hope for a better year next year. You talked about your coach, Kyle Rutledge. He's still your coach. Mm-hmm. What did he bring out in you? Like, obviously that had a huge impact on you going from, working at the US Cellular to being a low 12s hurdler. What did he find in you?
I think it's a mix of both him and Jesse. Jesse Miller is our jumps coach, and obviously I jumped in college. But as an athlete, I think both of them found a way to navigate what works for me, because I'll be honest, if just watched Masai they did like a day in her practice, and I was like, My practices don't look a lot like other hurdlers' practices because we had to find out what works for me. And that was the thing is Kyle's come up with different drills, new drills, and like he's come into a lot of practices and said, hey, I want to try this out and see how you feel about this. I'll see how I feel about it if watching it, see if we can feel certain things. And that's what, we kind of went through during the Olympic year. We were just testing so many different things, trying to get the best version of me out. And then this year, we kind of figured out what worked, what didn't work, and we're able to remove the stuff that didn't work and enhance the stuff that did. So to have a coach that is really willing to, break stuff down with you and understand you not only as an athlete, but as a person where, me and him have had heated conversations, but at the same time, the next day we're coming back to work. So it's never a problematic thing. It's just, how we both express ourselves and our personalities clash very well. So I love being there. I love him.
Who's in that training group with you? Are you training with is this you?
Me.
You like that? Is that the setup that you prefer?
Yeah. I think, for the way I train and just kind of, some days you don't want to be, as a track athlete, some days you don't want to come to practice. And, Kyle's still a head coach of a collegiate team, a dominant collegiate team. So, sometimes he's had days where, pole vaulters had a rough day and multis had a rough day, whatever it is, and he's already irritated, and I'm able to lift his mood, or vice versa. I'm having a rough day and he comes in, we ain't doing that moping around today, and we can lift each other's spirits. So we've learned how to do that. So to be able to have that is just fantastic, and I enjoy. I train with the college kids, but obviously schedules are completely different. They've got nationals in like a month, and I don't.
Yeah.
So,
but you race a lot. Like I was scrolling, and I did this before at Tokyo too. But I was scrolling your World Athletics page, and I'm just like, I need to get a new mouse scroller here. Like I'm gonna go, and it looks like you're not taking indoors off, obviously, or it looks like you're building towards the same sort of schedule as you did last year. Are you gonna race as much this year?
This year I probably won't race as much. For the indoor season, Boston and Melrose, all I got.
That's it. Okay.
That's all I am for hurdling. I believe I'm going to go jump at 1 or 2 meets, just kind of see where we're at, see if we can have fun with a year like this. So we'll do that. But I also I don't like going a long time without running. I think that Kyle and I have learned that that's the best way for me to really understand it. I think it comes from training by myself. That the best way for us to realize where we are and how things are going is to go out and race. When you do 3 to 4 events your entire life, and then you turn pro and now it's only one, it feels weird.
Yeah.
Like it feels really weird.
When was the last time you jumped?
I jumped last indoor.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did jump last indoor. I jumped at a couple of our pit meets.
Yeah.
But it was just more of, it just didn't fit into our schedule last year just because we were so focused on, trying to run, 12.8.
Yeah.
So that was, it was a necessary, let's not jump this year anymore. And hopefully we can, relax a little bit and have a little bit more fun this year and not be as, super serious just with, only it being ultimate championships, no worlds, no Olympics. So we'll see how this year goes.
Yeah, you mentioned Grant, and it looks like Grant's coming back. That just adds depth to an already really strong contingent of hurdlers in the U.S. Like, what does that mean for you competitive? Like, is that exciting for you? And like, is Aries Merritt's record, like maybe that's something we chase this year?
I think that one, with how deep the United States is, every single time we line up, especially when we're outside, when there's 3 or more Americans in a race, you get that feel of a USA Championships, a semifinal at Worlds. Like you get that feeling just because of how talented not only Americans are, but when we're in those Diamond League fields and all those other fields, how talented everybody that's hurdling is. You're looking at, if you look at season best from a lot of the Diamond League races, the lowest time's like 13:09, and you're like, there's not much space between us. So it's a matter of figuring all that out and going out and having fun. But as far as chasing Aries, I think that that's definitely a goal that's a goal you got to have eventually for yourself. If you want to be great in a sport like this, of course you want to have medals, but in a year where there's not a medal up, you might as well go chase it.
Yeah. You talked about this a little bit we're at the Milrose Games where we're recording this. You talked about this a little in the press conference yesterday. 60-meter hurdles versus 110-meter hurdles. You prefer the longer stuff.
Absolutely.
Why?
Since I've started hurdling my freshman year, I think that the back half of my race, the next 5, has always been my best part of my race. So to get to the point where, obviously, yes, you want to work on your start and continue to, build on that, but it just seems like in these indoor races, right when things are starting to get good, the race is over. And I'm like, well, there we go. So I think that's just how it's always been for me. I don't have no problem with the 60 hurdles. It's just a feel thing.
Yeah.
I just feel better in the 110s.
Before we get to our we call it our anchor leg round. You talked about the influence of your coach, but I know that your mom has also been a huge part of your success, both on the mental health side and just on the support side. Can you talk about how your mom has been a part of your athletic growth?
My mother has, honestly, I think the best way to put it is she's allowed me to be the athlete I was destined to be. I think that's the best way to put it is she was able to, when I didn't think about being an athlete anymore and barely wanted to be a person anymore, she built the person up so that the person could see the athlete that, I wanted to be. There's nothing better than, you have a rough day and you're able to, I don't care how old I am, I have no problem calling my mom and say, Mom, today sucks. And then, she always just knows exactly what to say and how to say it. Whether it's, a hard conversation of, you need to grow up, you don't need to whine about this, like you're upset, not because you had a rough day, you're upset over this, or you're upset over that. She reads everything, she understands just me. So to know that I always have something to fall back on as far as, how I feel is one of the greatest things that I could ever have.
Are you the oldest, or where do you fall in line?
I am the oldest of 3.
All right, so you're number 1. All right.
Well, I'm oldest of 4, technically. I'm the 4th.
Okay.
So I am, 3 younger sisters.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh, 3 younger sisters.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Do any of them participate in any sort of athletics? Did they get any of that DNA?
My oldest sister is a college volleyball player.
Okay.
She definitely has a lot of the
tall.
athletics. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She just led her, I feel bad because I don't remember what the name of her school is, but that sounds bad. But she did just help lead her school to their first conference title, I believe, in 20 plus years. So she's making an impact already. So I love that out of her. And the other 2 are more art. They love their art. So.
Is your mom an athlete?
No, she says that she gave me all the athletics. If you ever ask her that, she'll say, "Oh no, all my athletics went right to him."
That was really nice of her. We appreciate that.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, we're out to the round. For distance runners, we call it the bell lap. We're just coming up with this concept. And for sprinters and hurdlers, we call it the anchor leg. So I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions. All right, you ready?
Oh God.
Okay, get in the blocks. All right. What do you say to yourself before the gun goes off?
Just calm down. That's all it is always, is just calming down. Just make sure breathing's good. And I make sure I hear nothing besides the gun and the starter.
Favorite pair of training or racing shoes?
Any Max Fly, and I love to practice in any Pegasus.
Okay, I like the Pegasus too. That's my shoe also,
Yes.
but I'm not doing any hurdles. The non-shoe training accessory you can't go without. Bring it at every practice.
It'd be both my chains. They came from my grandma. One came from my grandma, one came from my mom, but it's just, those go with me everywhere.
Good luck charms.
Yes.
Okay. Because you jump, this question is going to be a little difficult, but the field event you would do, or we'll open it up. The event that you would do if you couldn't hurdle or jump. Or somebody said you have to do a third event, it's going to be?
Oh, the 200.
The 200.
It'd probably be the 200.
Okay, what could you run a 2 in? Right now, if you went out on the track, warmed up, would you run a 2?
Right now?
Yeah.
Whew. Right now, I think I could give you a 20.9.
Okay, I was going to ask if you could break 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could give a 20.9.
Okay. All right. All right. If you had to put together a 4x1 or a shuttle relay team, I'll let you pick. Who's on your team?
We'll do the 4x1.
Okay.
So it's me, to Trey to Grant to Jamal.
Okay. All right. What are you guys running?
I don't know 4x1 times, but
Okay.
we're beating whoever's there.
Okay. All right. Fair. What song is on repeat on your playlist right now?
Right now, oof, I'm trying to think. I don't know who it's by, but it's called Let the World Burn.
Okay. And what show are you binging?
Blacklist.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. What's your hidden talent?
I can sing.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Will you give us a couple notes?
No.
All right. What do you? All right. We're at a karaoke bar. Okay. What are you picking? What's your?
Some people actually got to hear this in Tokyo.
Really? Oh, that's a good place to do karaoke.
I sang "Take Me to Church." I'll sing.
Oh, like the Hozier song?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Andy Grammer, "Keep Your Head Up." That's a good one.
That's a
too.
good one.
That's a great one.
Did
I
you
think.
sing in high school and were you in the choir?
No.
Okay. You just got
It's just
tenor,
online.
bass. Sounds
No.
like a tenor baritone maybe.
I know.
All right, we're gonna get. We're at some point. You don't have to sing that, but we're gonna get this at some point.
I've heard that from a lot of media.
Yeah. Okay.
They still haven't caught me.
All right. Well, now that's our mission now. Cordell Tinch is the world champion in the 110-meter hurdles and one of the most exciting people on Team USA. Cordell, thanks so much.
Thank you.